Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Ask Leah. Tonight, I want to share with you a bit of a failure slash whoopsie-daisy slash hope that never happens again incident that happened to me yesterday in the hope that it helps you. So yesterday I was in the middle of presenting a 1 hour training session to an organisation. Hello, if any of you are watching. Called Attention Please, how to deliver engaging presentations. Now, at the start of the session, I asked the question of the group, what are your biggest fears when it comes to delivering online presentations? Because this is something that these staff haven't done before, and there was some real nerves about it. And it came up a few times that their biggest fear is what if technology glitches? What happens then, If it fails or if I can't work it properly, what do I do in that situation? 50 minutes into the workshop, I could answer that with real life examples, because here's what happened. The power went out in Willow Grove. The power went out and I was in full flight presenting 50 minutes into a 1 hour session, and the power went out. And it went out for about 5 minutes, and then when it finally did come on, my computer needed a full reboot because it hadn't liked shutting down in such spectacular fashion. Okay, so here's how I handled that situation. First off, the irony was not lost on me that the next point that I was going to discuss in the training was the importance of controlling your controllables and letting the rest go. Now, I had to really practice that myself in this moment because the power went out, and of course I had that moment of going, oh my goodness, all those people on the call, what are they going to be thinking? And then I very quickly had to say, Leah, you can't control the fact that the power is out. You've got no control over this at all. So when it clicked back in, I was trying to reboot. Unfortunately, we get poor reception out here, so I wasn't able to email them quickly enough. And I recognised that once I finally got back in, it was right on the cutoff time for the end of the session, which obviously is not a good thing. So here's what I did. I emailed the participants and let them know what happened immediately and apologised for the situation. They had other appointments they had to go to, so I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get them back in that moment. So then it came down to my response, and this really comes down to 3 questions that I encourage people to ask themselves when they are scared of failure or they're feeling nervous about a presentation, and we'd covered this in the session too. 3 questions to ask yourself. What's the worst that can happen? What's the reality if it happened? And how do I mitigate the worst from happening? Well, the worst that can happen is probably that your power goes out when you're midway through, when you're delivering a presentation. The reality, yeah, it sucked. They were there for a few minutes. Is she coming back or not? I didn't come back in that quick enough time, so they had to leave the call. No worries. If it had have happened earlier in the session, I would have been able to call them or contact them quicker to let them know what had happened. Okay, but even if I couldn't, I've got to say, they would have worked out pretty quickly. Something's gone wrong. She just disappeared and she hasn't come back. And they would have gone back on with their day. Now, it's crap for me because this is my job, but in terms of the reality for them, not probably as big as it would have been in my head. What can I do to mitigate it? So we have already said I can't control what happened, but how I respond I can. So here's what I did. I emailed the participants, as I said. I also phoned the organiser and talked through some options with her. I had, thankfully, the Zoom recording of the first 50 minutes of the session. So then what I did was I recorded a video of me delivering the last 10 minutes of the keynote, of the workshop. Okay, so I recorded that, and the reason I did that is because I made the offer of I can do a session where we do the last 10-15 minutes and some questions as well. I can do that extra session this week, but we all know how hard it is to fit things in our calendars for a lot of us at the moment, so that probably won't work. So I've recorded that video. So when I send the resources through, they'll get the 50-minute recording and the follow-up video. I think they're going to like the second video because, of course, I could answer those challenges, that question really well of what happens if technology does glitch. Hello, can speak from experience now. So I recorded the video so they've got all of the content. I'm also sending through some resources anyway, which I had planned. And what I've also now offered is a complimentary Q&A session with them where we can jump on, they can ask their questions, and we can do that last bit of the session. I've also offered that if they can't make that Q&A session and they have any questions, they can email them through to me, and I can then shoot a quick video back to them or give them an emailed response. That's all I can do, folks. I can handle it with grace. I can recognize that it's out of my control, and I can make sure that the response that I give is adequate, that I make sure everyone's got what they need, but I can't control it. So again, these things happen. Failure happens sometimes and it's out of our control. How we respond is in our control, and that's where our focus needs to be. So I hope you get something from this tonight. I hope, like hell, it never happens to me again. But please enjoy and think about how you might respond if that happened to you. Cheers, everyone.